cut that. Let's cut that. Cut the fuck. Oh my god. We're going to cut that out. Preview. Hi everyone. Welcome to the second episode of Weird Confessions Uganda.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're laughing. We're having a conversation. So wherever you're watching from, and I think that's probably our YouTube channel, Weird Confessions Uganda. Wherever you're listening in from, getting this podcast, either Spotify or anywhere you get your podcast from. We're really, really happy to have you for our second episode.
Very much.
Well, Soita again, and my co-host today is
Jay. Most of you know me as Jay, so yeah.
Jay, just something about yourself?
Well, literally, like I'm usually behind that camera, like one of those two cameras, and today I stand here because she felt like it was a good idea for me to get here because why? I do have a little bit of a background in psychology and behaviorism, and for today's particular topic, that has got to do a lot with how people react and how people like induce themselves to certain like actions, which is everything that's got to do with what we're discussing here.
Yeah. And I don't think that I think the primary way we relate the most, I don't know if it's fortunate or unfortunately, but it's in sexual ways, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
probably.
primarily,
Yeah.
yes. But as we're going to discuss today, listen, guys, our Twitter account at UG_confesses, right? At UG_confesses is where this idea is actually born. The entries of weird confessions from different Ugandans, and we kind of like pick the most popular topics, the ones that have gotten the most engagement, and then we get to discuss those topics on our podcast show and our YouTube show.
Yeah.
And today we have picked one of your most popular topics, which is basically marriage, relationships. Yeah.
Marriage, relationships, and entanglement.
Entanglement,
a lot
right?
of people usually call it nowadays.
Because that's exactly most of what most of the entries are about entanglement.
It's entanglement, yeah?
Yeah, you're not writing to us, really telling us how amazing your relationship is going.
Yeah.
That's because they're a little
they're
non-traditional. I think that even when we want to do things the right way, relationships are so complex and so varied in how they come out that we find ourselves in a little bit of entanglements, and we're going to be looking at all the, not all, well, hopefully we can capture one that you can relate with or you would love to hear about. Different sorts of like non-traditional sexual relationships.
Atypical,
that we choose or find ourselves in.
True.
Really.
Yeah. Because
find us or we find them.
Like a lot of people like find themselves in what they call your average relationship that isn't even average at all. You know, so people find themselves in situations that they do not know what to define as. And so today I think what we're going to do is be able to talk about some of these things. Some of them may sound crazy, and some of them, most of you may not really relate with.
And if they're crazy, if they're not crazy, I don't want.
Yeah, if they're not crazy, then they're not for us.
Yeah.
So because we only do crazy here. So yeah, sure.
So I don't know what we go with first. What do you think is the most crazy or really interesting type of non-traditional?
I think usually when you talk about relationships is people assume that a relationship is supposed to be this thing that happens leading up to marriage, you know, because that's the way we've been tuned by society to see it as. Like any actual relationship is supposed to be about marriage. Supposed to be the prelapse to what comes out of dating, and then which is marriage. But then we know, like people like me know and people like you know, that it doesn't always end up that way. And even if you get into that kind of like mutual arrangement of a relationship, it isn't always one or two people, you know. It's more than that. And that is what we're going to be talking about, because there's lots of them out there. There's a lot of us know what we were taught in school and what we've seen our parents do, which is your everyday marriage. One man marrying one woman, and them having kids, and that is what we've gotten to know. Yeah.
But I also think that our parents also kind of like learned from.
Yes.
Well, it depends on where you're from, really, because if you're going to be typically African. There is only so much you can stretch backwards and find monogamy as the
For sure.
as the the go-to aspect of what marriage or relationships are like.
Yeah,
right?
really. Like we've
So monogamy as the default, really. I don't know if it's really the default. I don't know if you have the statistics on this.
well, it
but,
is the default for most people.
but
Yes.
socioculturally, it is actually the default. Do you know how this gets into like human culture
Well,
around the world, societies?
We've been around. Humanity has been around for close to 6 million years. Yeah, and yet human civilization has only been around for about 6,000 years. You know.
Modern human is about 2 million years, and
Yes.
the oldest civilizations don't.
They do not. They do not prescribe. They weren't prescribed to monogamy because, according to philanthropists, we learn, from cave drawings and all these documentation, different kinds of documentation that these people were able to do. We know that we were never monogamous animals and I would say animals because we weren't always human, right? We've evolved to become humans.
But humans are also animals.
Well, yeah, modern day human, yeah,
Okay.
a modern day human, yeah, but still, so we weren't always that way, but then, according to history and philanthropy, monogamous, the only few details we have about modern day monogamy was in about the year 1593, and this was with the Greeks, with the Hebrews, and with the Romans. They're the ones that prescribed to this new generation of let us have one man and one woman. And the reason as why that happened is because they saw it. They were in these sort of civilizations where governments were taking place. So it was about rule. So monogamy actually came around as a socio-political instruct. Yeah. So if I was a man and I needed a son, I needed for that son to be mine and mine alone. And because I needed that son to be mine and mine alone, I had to have this one wife where it wouldn't be disputed. Because at the end of the day, when you talk about these kinds of civilization, sort of like the Roman Empire, it was kings. Yeah. And so as a king, you have to make sure that you have a successor. And you have a successor if you have a legitimate son. So actually monogamy only came around because people wanted successors. So it was a socio-political.
The ones that they can be sure of are theirs.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, when we rewind back into the modern human days, we used to be hunter-gatherers. And as hunter-gatherers, we had no means and no need for a legitimate son. You had this group of maybe 30 people of a tribe, what we call tribes, and these people, there were women and there were men. And there were a couple of men that were in charge of breeding the women, And these women, because we kept on moving,
How did they choose the ones that are in charge of breeding the women?
No, it was every woman. It was every woman, the essence. And that is why right now, because of the modern day movements of feminism and other different social interactions like that, is people are starting to realize okay, if I'm a woman, it isn't my duty. My duty isn't to give birth. I'm just as good as any man, right? So, but that wasn't what it was then.
But Jay, I would think that if we, for example, were more focused on the matrilineal line, in terms of being sure who is the parent of who, I feel like that's more definite than. I mean, men would think that because I've taken a woman home, then. It's, I am the offspring is mine, but truly, in most cases, we can't always be 100% sure. But in the absence of DNA, and people sneak around either way, women do, right? This is why I really think that certain royal families around the world and some few societies have actually chosen that the matrilineal line is the one. It's the typical familial line you get. Because I think they figured that the only person we could be more sure of to be the parent of a child is the woman and not the man. I think it's pretty smart.
Yeah, it is.
But men's egos,
It is smart because if we look back through let's say British history, there's been a lot of people saying that some of these people, like, you know, some of the people that have led these kingdoms and sons that have come forward weren't meant for this throne because actually the women slept with somebody else. Yeah, but all of these things have been kept, you know, under wraps. They've been kept behind the curtain because nobody wants to talk about that, especially in an empire like the British Empire. So nobody actually talks about these things. But marriage as a single union of a man and a woman has stretched thus far. But then as we've kept on going, as we've kept on like coming, that has gradually depleted. Like it has changed. And that is why we have all these modern kinds of relationships, what you'd have called the atypical relationships that people don't usually want to talk about. Yeah.
And many of these, perhaps, well, I'm not sure. I mean, if someone disagrees with me, we really encourage you to leave us a voice note. Not necessarily if you disagree with us, but if you have something to add to this conversation, please leave us a voice note on our WhatsApp number that will be provided on the screen. And would love to hear from you. But I think most of these atypical sexual relationships, I think that, well, you don't necessarily have to agree or disagree with me, but I think that, I mean, in my opinion, it could be going back to the hippies movement back in the 60s. Around the late 50s to the 60s, there was this culture shift in America, the hippie movement, and it was characterized by, well, many things, you know, popularization of jeans and like all sorts of like, good stuff,
Yeah,
I can't think of anything bad that came out of the hippie movement. But and one of the many things was just fluidity around sexuality and the expression of sexuality. Well, I would say, I think we're having this conversation earlier on, and we said a lot of the elements of the hippie movement can be also traced back to the Rastafari movement. Yeah. And but how has this created the effect that we see today from the 60s to now? What has changed and how has it changed and what do we have now? Well,
the hippie movement, what usually people call the hippie movement, and the Rastafarian movement were both socio-political movements, you know. Sort of the hippie movement starts right after the USA goes to war with Vietnam. Most of the people that do come back from Vietnam are people that have been to war. And so for them, like to everybody else, these are people that have PTSD. These are people that no longer follow rules because, well, like I've been to war. So what worse can how bad can it get? You know. So they come back. They're so very self-expressive. You know, and so they form this movement of we are ourselves. And some of the things that they border on is freedom and free expression. And so some of these like sexual experiences and sexual niches like crop up from that, because once somebody's free and they're free to do whatever they want, then they're more bound to do whatever they want.
And especially with their bodies.
Especially with their bodies, yeah.
Sexually, yes.
Exactly, sexually. So most of these things, stuff like swinging and polyamory and even homosexuality crop up from the hippie movement in the USA.
We are getting there, right?
Yeah, we are getting
there. Okay. So, because I'm hearing some really, really interesting stuff. What should we get into first?
Oh, well, like...
For me, I think asexual. Because...
Why sexual? Okay.
Sexual because... so we're talking about all these ways that people choose to have sex and with whom. And then there is people who actually do not...
who do not want sex.
Yeah, do not want sex, right? Like, it's... For me, I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, it is really interesting because it's... I must say... Like,
do you know any asexual person?
I know a few, like maybe sadly or and I don't. Are they
like a unicorn, or people just don't tell us? Guys, you need to tell us when you're sexual, because anyway, no, you don't need to. You don't need to. It's none of our business. No, but my God,
but I don't know anyone. There's genuinely people that aren't interested in sex, and for them, a relationship is everything but the sex. And I know that usually would sound good, but that's not the way how it works, you know, because honestly, like intimacy is part of any healthy relationship. And as therapists and as psychologists, when somebody comes to you and they tell you like my marriage is falling down, it's either one of two reasons. One of the two like typical like reasons for people to fall out of love love, I'd put it in brackets.
Fall
because,
out of
yeah,
love.
yeah, to fall out of love is either financial problems or sexual problems. And that tells you how important sex is in a relationship. Yeah. And so for the asexual people, that is something that is even new to me. And I'm supposed to be a psychologist, right? I'm supposed to know that, but it is also it is so new to me because it's so rare, and so there's not a lot of like test subjects out there. There's not a lot of people that are willing to come to you and tell you that, okay, I don't really enjoy sex. I don't like it. Like I have this man that I love so much, but I don't feel that way about him. So that is new for me too.
But psychologically speaking, I mean, what would this mean? Where would I mean, science doesn't always have to answer the why, really. Yeah. But if you could, the psychology of an asexual person.
I mean,
what should it look like?
Okay, I would say most of the times that I've come across people like that, it's either childhood trauma or the kind of conditioning and situation that they've grown up in. If I do grow up and I see I've grown up in a homestead or a family where sex is demonized, then that draws that impression in me, and I go with that for pretty much the rest of my life. And what we realize is most of the people actually are formed to asexuality during their teenage years. That is when somebody starts and like, no, I don't want that. Like, because that's that is your time for discovery. That is when you discover your sexuality. That is when people come out as lesbian or as gay, or somebody like gets a hint in themselves that, okay, I may be interested in this. Or maybe I find this really, I do not understand this, but I feel this way about myself. And I think that is what, for most people, is when they discover their sexuality. And for me, I can say that I would answer like everything that's got to do with asexual people.
Or why they feel
that way. But the few cases of people that I've talked to, it's either a trauma event in their childhood, or something to do with their family history.
What do you think their relationships are like? Asexual and asexual, or sexual and asexual? I don't know.
Your guess is as good as mine. Your guess is as good as mine, because I really have no idea.
Oh my God, guys, if you are listening in and you're in one, or you've known someone who has been dating someone who's asexual, or two people who are asexual, please let us know, because we are dying to hear about what that's like. I mean, I do not want to really, I don't want to guess what it's like, but I'm really, really waiting on, what these people
are going to say.
Polyamory.
Polyamory.
This is crazy popular right now.
Well,
not popular. I don't know if it's popular in like application.
Okay.
But the conversations around polyamory after entanglement with August.
I know. I know.
I can't.
There is the memes, there's the memes, there's the clips, there's literally everybody like blew up, like the internet blew up with that, like this entanglement issue. But it's not particularly new. Like for people that have actually that are open-minded, and have been through different kinds of societies and met different kinds of people, we all know that this has been happening for a very long time. Even
you
here
need to travel
though. You do not,
because I feel like people have been, maybe some have been having this relationship but quietly, and without necessarily sharing on social media or sharing it as some sort of like novel idea. Like
the beauty about what we're trying to do here with Weird Confessions is we get to hear what people have to say, and they say it anonymously. And when you're doing something anonymously, people tell you things that they wouldn't normally talk about. And now we know that even with people that have been in like monogamous marriages, a lot of people have actually talked about cheating. And most people would think that polyamory and cheating are pretty much the same, but they're not, because polyamory actually is, you know that you're, as people put it, eating out, right? Yes. So
people, wait, we talk about people and eating them. But okay.
So people know that, you both know that you're eating out, and that is what polyamory is it's this arrangement of where you could be a couple, or you could be just two people that know each other, but then you you sort of like agree that we are going to be seeing and sleeping with other people.
Okay, so just to put it out there and to be very precise and accurate, polyamory seeks consent.
Yes.
And knowledge.
Yes.
Of participants.
Of both or the group of participants. Yes.
So how different is polyamory from open relationships? Like, what's the distinction between the two?
Well, with polyamory, both of you know, like there's consent between whoever is taking charge, whoever is practicing, like whoever's in this arrangement, right? With the thing with an open relationship is one partner does not necessarily have to know whether you're sleeping around or whether you're not, and who you're sleeping around with.
That's like literally the favorite thing of
that's people's favorite thing. That is literally what a lot of you are doing, and I'm not going to say anything about myself,
but cheating, I am sure. Okay, but let's first finish polyamory and then open relationships. So you say the distinction is, just to make it clear?
Yeah, the distinction is in polyamory, all of the people that are partaking know that they're doing this, right? As in, and the only difference there is between that and an open relationship is in an open relationship, we know that, okay, we are not mutual. We're not mutually exclusive. But I may not have to know who you're dating or who you're seeing. That isn't me. And yet, in a polyamorous relationship, I have to know. I do have to know. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, I mean, you can imagine how. How do we get to know that people are in polyamorous relationships in this day and age?
Do
they post their significant others? But can you imagine if you had to post two significant others on Facebook or on Twitter?
I know, and he's okay.
Judgment,
and I'm so glad that you mentioned social media, platforms like Facebook and Twitter, because on Facebook, we all know, all of us that are on Facebook, is you choose your status, your relationship status, and it's amazing. And you can go to Facebook right now, check your friends' profiles and everything. A lot of people have open relationship on their Facebook. But I do not think they do understand what an open relationship is.
Same, I don't think they do.
Because usually, I mean, the world has changed. We are getting a lot of our partners of people that we're dating off of social media, because we are busy people. We are working harder than ever. We're working long hours. Money is really scarce and hard to find, and so we find ourselves in this dilemma where we don't spend as much time being in the outdoors. We don't spend as much time going to church. Well, apparently people do meet people. We're not as social as we used to be. Yeah, and so we meet people online because it's as easy as somebody saying hi, in your DM. Yeah. So and so a lot of people have got into relationships with people that actually have open relationship as a description in their relationship status.
Do you think it scares off anyone if they see open relationship?
I don't think it does, because we're all secretly doing it anyway.
Are you kidding? What do you mean by all? Excuse me, please. Speak for yourself.
That's what makes me. That's what makes me the psychologist, because I know.
So are you saying you're one of the people doing open relationships, or you're speaking on behalf of humanity and all of us on social media?
Well, I always say that experience is the best master, and so I must say, I must admit that I've been in a couple of open relationships, but the only difference between me and probably the Tom, Dick, and Harry out there is somebody knows about it. My partner knows about it. So we actually... That
somebody is your partner, right?
Yes.
Not someone who has seen you with someone else and yet they know your partner.
Yes, true.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's this conversation that people are having, either subconsciously in their head, because... they know they're in an open relationship, but their partner doesn't know.
Now, speaking of Facebook, social media options for relationship status. So, for example, Facebook has, you can say, you can have an open relationship. True. But I'm thinking why so many people, one of the reasons why so many people have open relationship is because, in an open relationship, is because they don't have the choice of polyamory, for example.
Yeah, they do not.
They don't. So if you're in a polyamorous relationship, the closest you have for a description for your status is open relationship. And yet they are kind of like really different things.
They are very different, yeah.
But I was reading somewhere a Medium article, like an article on Medium, where someone is saying that what they did was to use partner. The option of partner, and then they listed more than one partner. Because apparently both of this person's partners wanted to be named. So that's the other thing about polyamorous relationships is that like who are you public with and who are you not public with?
True,
because also the concept of who you're public with has because I could want to be in a polyamorous relationship, but I don't want the judgment, right? That comes with it. But socially speaking, in the usual social sense, friends and family, but also on social media. But maybe both of my partners now want me to post them.
To post them.
Right? Or both of my partners want to meet my friends and family. And can we be honest? Like, not all our friends and family are open to the idea of polyamory. And I mean, many young people are still doing it and taking it up because it works for them. But I don't know about the application and how it works. I mean, you're Ugandan, I'm Ugandan. I want you to imagine in a polyamorous relationship. Go, friends and family.
I do not
both
know.
Your partners would love for you to be open about having both of them. And your that, relationship having that dynamic. How would you go around that?
Well, like that puts you in a bit of a debacle because to us, and okay, polyamory is mostly comfortable with the people that are partaking. It's not comfortable with everybody else, your family, your friends, because for them that's so weird. And they find it weird because either
weird is actually a euphemism. They would find it immoral.
They find it like immoral, and part of it would actually just be jealousy. Like let me
tell you, but a lot of immorality is about jealousy that we cannot do these things.
Like, why does he have to do it? Like why will he do it if I can't?
Why are you getting more sex and
I'm not.
Okay, I know it doesn't necessarily translate into more sex, but that's what we think. And that's why one of the misconceptions and the judgments of polyamory is, you just want to sleep around. But is that always the case?
No, it's not.
Is there something about polyamory that is more than just sex that you would want viewers and those listening in to know?
Yes, there is more to it than just the sex. A lot of people lately are getting into long distance relationships, and probably one of the hardest relationships to make work is long distance relationship. Your partner isn't with you, and so people have actually figured out that if I'm in a polyamorous relationship and I have a partner here and a partner there, then that actually makes it efficient for all parties involved.
Because
we'll
talk about efficiency another time, but okay.
Because even for, let me say, the partner that you leave behind that isn't with you, like in the moment, they at least have this, and I'm going to call it this, but this delusion of comfort that this person is only seeing one other person that I do know about.
And what would the truth be?
And the truth is probably more than that.
Oh my God. Okay. Can we talk about how we think that monogamy is what is normal? I know there's been the social cultural conditioning, but like even if like we, like most of us, if they say it, okay, self-reflect and think about what it would be like for your partner to have someone else that you know about. I feel like the easier first thing that you feel is jealousy and insecurity. How does that work? For people venturing into such
I think a lot of people actually assume that marriages are more to do with emotion, or relationships are more to do with emotion and love, But honestly, we know like most marriages are actually about practicality. They're about security.
But we don't know that when we're getting into them, do we?
Yes, they do. Yes, you do not know that. And for most people, that's something that's deep in their subconscious, but they're not even willing to discover themselves, to bring it to the front, But they're not especially about me having this one person alone, Because you'll find like in sort of like, let me say, in normal Ugandan society where, at least I've had this before, where a woman will say like, I don't mind who else is seeing, as long as he provides, as long as I have security, as long as I have a house, as long as I have the security and protection for my kids, for my kids, that works, So I think it's not easy. Like, it's not a very easy like perception of things for most people, but it is happening.
So when you say it's not an easy thing to grapple with and to accept, that the practicality of relationships kind of like pushes the emotional aspect of it like a little, not aside. I mean that's the thing about monogamy, right? But okay, I don't want to get into that. What I want you to tell me is, are you saying that polyamorous people are making a hard choice? Like, is it something that they actually joyfully get into? Is it a tough decision? Is it a practical decision? Is it something that we actually just want to try out as you know, the generation that is now enjoying youth? But also, lastly, as we wrap up about polyamory, the gender dynamic. Is this something that is working for both genders really equally? I know polyamory is like a huge improvement of polygamy, right? Because in polygamy, I know women win, but they only win if the man is wealthy, right? And even then, the emotional bit of it has to be sidelined. So polyamory, both women and men can see it like different people, but is that the reality of it? And
here's what, like, why I love that you asked that is actually the shock factor with what we just said about the entanglement, and the two people that were talking about that. The shock factor and what made it go viral was because it was the woman saying it. So that in itself, like,
it was the woman who had ventured out and gotten an
so
partner. People
don't usually expect that. They're like, oh, it was the woman, you know?
Like, women want someone else? Oh my God.
So I would say no. I would say that it isn't equal, like, for both genders. I feel like it will be. Maybe it will get there. Sort of like, but I feel like the men are literally usually push for this, you know, because it's easier for them, and because there's less.
Reminds me of threesomes.
Yeah, there's lesser societal pressure for them.
And acceptance.
And acceptance, yes.
No, I hear you. Okay. Now, that reminds me of swinging. And I want to admit that every single time I think of swinging, guys, I think, you see, media portrayal of these things is very, very important, because whenever I think of swinging, I think about these shows like from the US where people, you know, like couples are swinging. And you know how they usually look, like blonde and like white people. I haven't seen shows, I know that they exist, but I haven't yet seen shows of black people swinging. What is swinging? Because what's swinging?
Literally, swinging.
The dynamics of it.
Swinging is a couple opening up their sexual relationship, because it mostly deals with sex. You know, like opening up.
Those shows don't show that.
Opening sex it's because they don't. Well, I don't know. They're not late shows, are they?
Is swinging always sex? Like, do couples agree that we swing?
Yeah, usually swinging is about the sex dynamic. It has very little to do with the actual, like, emotional relationship itself. It's mostly to do with this. That is why there's actual, like, euphemisms about swinging, and that's like, I know, sex parties and orgies and stuff. That is why if you did right now, like, go to a porn site, right, and you put like a word, say sex orgy or swinging, it would bring especially the storyline. Exactly, you know, like it will be pretty much the same thing.
This is something I've just read about. I haven't seen.
So like swinging, like, sort of like takes on that sexual dynamic, and so it's this couple, like, opening up their sexual, you know, life,
but with another couple.
And so,
how is this different from wife swap?
How is this different? No, it's actually the same. It's pretty much the same.
Why do they call it wife swapping, though?
It's because with wife swap, you're swapping the wife. With swinging, both of you can actually swing. Actually, there's actually swinging where both couples, the man and the woman, are bisexual. So it does get interesting.
Oh my God, I had not seen the dynamic coming, but my God, that is super interesting.
Yeah, so that's what swinging is, and that is why it actually. But I think of everything that we've actually talked about, swinging, I must say, is one of the most detailed, because because the people that do partake.
And I was thinking it was the simplest.
No, the people that do partake actually sign waivers of what happens when and what doesn't happen. You know?
Imagine signing a waiver here, though, in Uganda.
Exactly.
They would talk.
Yeah, because with swinging is people can actually say, you cannot touch my wife if I'm not in the room, right?
Yeah.
Or
all these conditions.
yes,
No, I hear you.
Yes, or you cannot, or if we are having sex and even you as a couple want to take part, your wife can only be the person that sort of, let me say, does this to my wife, and not the other way around.
So it's basically those four,
yes.
right? But can you imagine if swinging happened to polyamorous groups?
Yeah, and it does happen. That is what orgies are, and that is why I actually made that reference. That is what orgies are, because in an orgy, although for most like sex orgies, it's just couples like having sex together.
Yeah,
but there's like swinging orgies where it's 30 men, 30 women going at it, like rabbits.
Okay, yeah. Leave rabbits out of this. Rabbits are too cute.
Okay.
Yeah, and okay. But in all this, like, I feel like many of these things are like really progressive.
Yeah.
But what does it look like for Ugandan as we wrap up? Because most of our audience, not most of our audience, but our Twitter entries, Weird Confessions Uganda, and the Twitter account at UG_confesses. Yeah. Most of the entries we get are from Ugandans, right?
True.
And from the entries that we have gotten, like, how hard or easy has this been? And is this something you prescribe for people to look into? Because you've seen the issues that they have raised around, I would say, experiences around relationships and sex.
I would say a comfortable relationship is a good relationship.
Whether for Uganda or anyone else, really.
Yes, a relationship where you're getting what you want and you're getting what you need, and both partners feel like they're part of something grand is a good thing. So it doesn't matter what it is, honestly, as long as it's legal, by the way.
Oh my God, the legal bit.
Yes.
Legal. But I think consensual covers the legal bit, but I just want to stress it.
Yes.
Consensual and legal.
Yes, consensual and legal.
Consensual is legal, but yes.
Yeah. So as long as those are covered, then it's a good thing. So it doesn't, I mean, I have no issues with polyamory. I have no issues with swinging. I have no issues with you people that are asexual. You know, I mean, I don't understand it, but I do actually feel that is you. That is who you are. And for as long as both of you are comfortable with that dynamic, we are all good. That's what makes a really
as a psychologist, as you wrap up, I would say that you have to point out sexual health and emotional health in such arrangements.
Yes.
What do you prescribe, and what do you like? What do you just like really advise?
And the greatest part about like most of these things, and just like you said, because they're progressive, is people actually take extra precautions to make them safe for everybody. You know, there's things that we could have talked about, sort of like BDSM, where people actually also it's another thing that where people sign waivers and stuff like that, hard limits, soft limits, and stuff like that. But it's the same with all these kinds of relationships. People actually test. People make sure that they are wearing protection. People make sure that if my woman is going to sleep with somebody else, that they're either on the peel or something like that. And that is really, really important. If you're going to delve in this, then you've got to make sure that you do these things, because at the end of the day, it's not about that relationship is going to tear apart if you're both not healthy. If one of you is dead, then it's no longer a relationship. So you have to take extra care about making sure that you're taking the right precautions.
Yeah, so this pretty much, and I think that in such relationships, just to point it out, I think that they succeed and stay healthy if women have more choices available to them. Contraception and also staying healthy, but also like emotionally, how more than just like communication amongst and between people, like what else can they do? See a therapist? Do they need the therapist? Oh, how do they?
You do not need a therapist to take you through this, you know, because it's a mutual arrangement. It's something between the two of you.
Plus, by the time you're seeing a therapist,
well, that has gone wrong then. So by the time you see a therapist, then it probably has gone wrong, because that's the only reason people come to us.
Unfortunately.
But yes, I do agree. Like you've got to make sure that your partner is okay. So emotional wise, like you really need to take care that your partner is in it with you. You're not just forcing something on
So
them.
regular communication is important.
Regular communication is important.
Okay, thank you so much, Jay. Jay is one of one of the people that make up the team that is behind this wonderful project. So it's been really, really good to have him. And
really
guys, thank you so much for listening in, for watching. Please do not forget to rate us on Spotify or wherever you listen to this podcast from. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Weird Confessions Uganda, and then go to our Twitter account at UG_confesses. Do not forget to send us any voice notes or messages on our WhatsApp number. It's right there on the screen. We're waiting to hear from you about what you think about this. Thank you so much. See ya next time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.